Toussaint, the land of fluff and wine.
Exactly how I remembered it.
Justify Your Buy is a chance for us to shed some light on an amazing title that we believe has earned your time and money. There are games that we've been told over and over again, you have to play this game, and for these reasons. Sometimes we trust the recommendation and make the investment. Other times, we just don't. Justify Your Buy is our version of an elevator pitch. Just like you, our time and money is valuable. Here's why we believe The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine expansion is too. This isn't a review, this is the missing piece you needed to justify your buy. When I refer to the Wild Hunt, I will be referring to the main game and questline. When I mention Blood and Wine, I'm referring to the second expansion. Blood and Wine is a masterclass for downloadable content and expansions. It's a gripping 20-hour questline, packed with side quests, a whole new world, about a quarter of the size of the entire continent from the main game, and plenty more interesting characters to flesh out. What Blood and Wine does best is offer a change of environment. Toussaint is beautiful, fertile, and bright, a contrast to the war-torn, bleak, and dying continent. Blood and Wine feels like it could easily be a sequel to The Wild Hunt. You don't need to complete the main quest or Hearts of Stone to jump into Blood and Wine. I do believe Hearts of Stone can be enjoyed without having touched the main questline. We cover everything in our Justify Your Buy Hearts of Stone in the description below. However, I think it would be a huge mistake to play through Blood and Wine without having completed the main questline, because this is probably the final chapter in Geralt's story. So if you haven't, leave now and come back when you're ready. For those of you who have completed the main questline, or who don't care about my advice, here's my pitch. The path between the nearest notice board to the town where you are meeting two noble knights from Toussaint has been completely ravaged by war, burnt and left completely lifeless. This is juxtaposed by Toussaint, a region full of colors, exotic plant life, rushing rivers, massive mountains, and fertile farmland. Where Velen looks like a nightmare, Toussaint looks like a fairy tale. And that's exactly what this story is. Your first encounter in Toussaint is a brave knight being chased by a giant that he attempted to kill to win a fair maiden's heart. This fight is also unique, and the giant is a great monster to showcase the monster-heavy Blood and Wine questline. Blood and Wine is the longest, most epic, and complicated monster contract in The Witcher 3. It's a love letter to fairy tales, myths, and fantasy. Blood and Wine is still as dark, evil, and blood-soaked as the rest of the Witcher franchise, just with a beautiful coat of paint to cover it all up. Blood and Wine's strength is in its changes, not only to the environment, but to combat. There are many new enemy types, and Geralt can unlock mutations which are powerful buffs to his abilities. For example, I went with a buff to Ard, which increased its range, power, and occasionally froze enemies. Toussaint can even make a murder scene charming, which would be misplaced if it wasn't a refreshing shift from the desolation of the continent. Within the first hour of Blood and Wine, it is obvious that something more is going on in Toussaint, and this is the motivation you'll need to not want to put this expansion down. Blood and Wine keeps engaging you until you've sadly completed it, and you will be sad, because this is most likely our farewell to Geralt of Rivia. But it is a fantastic send-off for such a beloved character that at this point you've probably spent over 100 hours with. Just like the Wild Hunt and Hearts of Stone, quests are broken up into smaller pieces that are short but sweet. This is great if you only have an hour or so to jump in and want to make the most out of it. But I challenge you to be able to put that down before you realize it's 3 in the morning and you have to be up for work the next day. But remember, this isn't a review, this is the missing piece you needed to justify your buy.